live right now?
And we understand that the situation is escalating at the scene now that police have taken down the barriers. Again, our understanding is there's no ICE agents there. This would be local law enforcement still on the scene.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Julie. I just wanted to know if this was happening as we speak or not. Okay, so this is not what we've been seeing. This is a complete escalation right now. You're seeing the snowballs, the ice balls. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Ice balls and snowballs are not some innocent play fighting thing. That's like what caused the Boston Massacre. Like this is violence, right? You're seeing them chase officers out of the way. They are now walking / running away from the intersection as we speak. It appears that the growing crowd is pushing law enforcement out of the way, and they are leaving.
Trying to leave the scene. You know, it's important to reiterate that Chief Brian O'Hara has said many times they are not involved in ICE operations. Our local law enforcement is simply there in case there is danger to the public. In other words, the crowd starts to get rowdy. There starts to be an escalation between protesters and ICE officers. So they are there only for crowd control. They are never there to assist ICE agents in their operation. So emotions are very high, though, today, no doubt.
Well, it's so important. If they're leaving right now and that scene is done, if that crime tape no longer exists and the cars that were there, the ones that were shot, still are there and people are running it over, all that evidence is gone now. It's tainted.
We have no idea what is happening at that. You know, I don't know where those cars are in relation to where this video or this live picture is. You know, and we had said earlier there'd been a lot of chanting and there'd been very, very little escalation going on in the crowd, except between a couple different people in the crowd. It hadn't been directed to law enforcement until this moment. And although you are not allowed to throw obstacles, no matter what they are, at officers, you know, our hope is that this is as violent, if that's too strong a word, that it gets today, that people can remain peaceful and certainly exercise their First Amendment rights. But
well, this is interesting, Julie, too, because there's officers behind the crowd. You see how there's like 100 or 200, and there's police cars in front and behind, almost as if they're giving them space. Or they're being chased out, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll continue watching this as the day goes on. And again, we did talk earlier with a use of force expert who emphasized how important it is to wait for all the facts to come out, and that he has a lot of experience in different cases across the country and how often the narrative can change as more and more video and witness testimony is unveiled. I think we've already seen that on social media this morning. The first video that came out showed one angle. Videos that have come out subsequently show different angles and give us more information. And so no one knows exactly what went down at this moment. We do know a woman was shot and killed. It's a tragedy. We know tensions are high, and they have been. This operation in Minneapolis of ICE agents was the largest ever under Trump. They had sent 2,000 agents here, including about 600 Homeland Security investigators, in light of all the fraud tied to Medicaid that has been uncovered here in Minnesota. So already the situation was fraught politically and obviously emotionally as well. And now here today, what has happened is what we feared would happen, that this would escalate into a situation in which shots were fired, and tragically this morning a woman has lost her life. We are anticipating a press conference at any moment from Governor Tim Walz. We're joined by Danny Spiewak as well, our chief political reporter. Let's keep this live picture up as we talk to Danny and wait for that press conference. But Danny, I thought you made such a good point that in light of the governor's own press conference yesterday, in which he was more defensive and emotional than we've seen him in a long time, hard to know what to expect out of this press conference today, but we certainly know that there will be a lot of acrimony directed toward the president and his administration, or certainly it's what we anticipate.
And one thing that strikes me just watching this all unfold, you know, it's eerie that it's in, you know, very similar neighborhood to the killing of George Floyd and that murder in 2020, of course, you know, in the Powderhorn neighborhood, South Minneapolis. It strikes me that the dynamics are so different. That was a situation where you had Minneapolis police and anger from the community toward the city's police department and the city of Minneapolis. In this case, you have an anger from people that are on scene towards a federal government with support from the city and I'm guessing, when Governor Walz talks, the state government. And so it's a different dynamic. The parallels will be drawn geographically. Obviously there's so much context around that here in Minneapolis, but
They do not have the support of local law enforcement.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's a different dynamic because you were talking about, criticism of actions by a local department. This is
Right.
now a federal situation. The dynamics are much different in terms of the interactions between the federal, state, local governments, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
It's just, that's
absolutely.
what strikes me watching this right now.
Yeah, we had already heard the governor talking yesterday about how he felt that the president was attacking Minnesota and that he didn't have our best interests at heart. Of course, very political. We know that people feel very strongly the opposite way as well. But we all knew that the ICE operations here, whether you think they're merited or you don't, there's no doubt that tensions and emotions were rising every time they showed up somewhere to make an arrest. There would be large groups of people, and we had seen interactions between the crowds and ICE agents as well. This was all, this surge, we're to understand from DHS and Secretary Noem, was because of the fraud that had been perpetrated throughout the state in Medicaid, largely from the Somali community. And it's interesting to note that they've said that they've arrested 1,300 people, but it's difficult for us to figure out if that is A, an accurate number, B, who these people are. They've said it would be the worst of the worst, but it's hard for us to confirm that, even when they give us names and they give us a criminal record. But that's going to be important context before the governor speaks. This is what it stems from, this particular surge in ICE agents. They're saying at the federal level they're coming here because of all the fraud in the Medicaid system, which is closely tied to many in the Somali community. And that set the stage for what we are seeing today as far as why they were coming specifically to Minneapolis in the last 2 days.
But it's very difficult because we don't know what the purpose of today's operation was.
Correct.
And so we don't know why they were in that area of South Minneapolis. We don't know, when it comes to the fraud issue, of course, that was cited as a reason to boost enforcement. We know that much of the fraud defendants who were Somali American were U.S. citizens or were
Right.
here legally. And so there's so much at play here. It's so difficult to get information in real time. And so, there's a lot going on, I guess, to keep it,
Yeah.
to keep it short.
A lot of layers. And we want to point out, too, the woman that was in that car was not the target of the ICE operation this morning. She showed up, according to the witness that shot that video. Max said the woman in the car, this witness, heard the woman in the car yelling things at ICE like, get out. So she was one of those observers that we've seen show up in communities when ICE operations are in effect. But she was not the subject of the ICE operation.
So I just ask what happens next, right? We have this horrific death. You can ascertain who's at fault there, and that'll be litigated, I'm sure. But you have thousands of federal agents conducting immigration raids in the Twin Cities right now. And there's a choice. Do you continue to conduct these raids? Do you have warrants? Do you continue to follow the mission and the purpose that President Trump has ran on and was elected on? Or do you heed the warning from the mayor and others and let things cool off and get out of Dodge?
Yeah,
I
that'll
don't
be
know.
interesting. We haven't heard anything. We did get a statement from Secretary Noem this morning about the shooting. She's in Texas now. She was here yesterday, but no word yet on whether or not they're going to stand down on this operation here in Minneapolis.
Do we have the statement from Majority Whip Tom Emmer? Because we've been hearing from a lot of local elected Democrats, but I would love to hear what Emmer had to say this morning. Okay, 1 second. And Sammy, I don't know if you want to read that.
Yeah, sure. So Tom Emmer on X said, our brave ICE agents put their lives on the line every day to protect our communities from dangerous criminals. May God bless and protect them in their efforts. Shame on the elected officials who endanger these agents by spewing lies and hateful rhetoric. We also got some updates. There it is over there on the screen. We also got a recent update from Hennepin County Sheriff who said that their office was not involved in the shooting, nor were they on scene when it happened. Our deputies did respond to preserve the crime scene. We also have some updated statements from Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy and House DFL Leader Zach Stevenson. Leader Murphy says she's devastated and furious. A weak president sent ICE agents to Minnesota to sow chaos without regard for human life, and today's killing is the predictable outcome. Leader Stevenson said a woman was shot and killed today by an ICE officer. We're monitoring the situation and gathering the facts, but we know this is yet another dark day for Minnesota as the federal government continues to target our state. So plenty of reaction here.
Two things